Hey everybody, Mature Simmer here. So welcome. We're actually at an airport. I know it looks strange, but I specifically picked this location. There's a control tower out there, so I promise there's an airport nearby. But yeah, it's kind of out there. But we are here in Maputo, so welcome back to the VFR series. This is I guess a milestone. It's leg 50. So, like every 25, that's probably a pretty good thing to celebrate. Unfortunately, like a lot of what we have here in Africa, it's just a point-to-point leg. We really basically continue that through leg 54. Leg 54, we're doing a few things, but again, I think we're just following waterways. And really, leg 56 is where we first have a little bit more of a narrative. So did remember to go ahead and change the gas and fill myself up here this time. So we'll get our propeller up. We'll get our starter on, our ignition to auto. Everything should start spinning. We'll get our radios going. That's kind of our next long pole in the tent for startup here. Gonna get our pitot heat going. You could argue that we need the inertial separator, but I'm not gonna do that. All right, so hopefully this will not go too far. So yeah, the longer we let that go, the better. Always just double checking that engine, that there's a line, but we're out to 96%. We're using it a little bit, but engines go a long way. I just don't know that they're going to go all the way to the end. And again, it's a simple button push to fix and all that. Get these turned on. All right, so we've got the radios. Flight plan. We're going to import from a file. And pretty quick this time. It's literally point to point, 627 nautical miles. So we'll get ourselves to high idle, turn ourselves off. We should be okay. We'll get our taxi lights on, nav strobe, because we will be going shortly. All right, we got that. Whoops. Get the fuel set. That set. That's set to auto, on, auto. That'll start getting our temperature. We're good there. And we are not going very high, so we are just going to go to 2,500. Again, about 700 is probably good enough. Everything's good there. We're already at 60. So everything is moving. Go back to the menu. Hit terrain. Get ourselves out a little bit. And we are going to be good to go. So we're going to go ahead. We'll just quickly talk about what we're doing. We are changing countries. We're going from Mozambique to Madagascar. We're going to basically go east. And this is going to be a flight across a lot of water. You'll hear about this in the narrative, so let's just jump in. Today we're heading across the Mozambique Channel to the island nation of Madagascar. A former French colony, Madagascar is the second largest island nation in the world, behind Indonesia, and the fourth largest island overall. I frequently flew these over-water legs at night to build up my night hours, since there's nothing to see anyway. But be forewarned that Toliara Airport is unlit, So be sure you arrive in daylight. That's all we got, folks. That's all we got for you. I don't think Sarah's going to say a lot because we have a lot of water, so she might repeat things over and over and over again. So I can't really promise anything else. Gonna get our trim set. Just kind of move it a little more into the green. Get our flaps down. Turn our parking brake off. Everything on the board is clear. And we are good to go. So we're going to get ourselves here. It is 627 nautical miles. So we don't want to go crazy. But yeah, basically the taxiways are interesting here. That's all I can say. So probably before we get going too much, Maputo, ground, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting VFR at 2500 to Madagascar. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I want to go here.
November 1 Mike Alpha. On departure, maintain VFR at or below 2,500. Departure on 121.3. Squawk 5473. Expect runway 05.
Actually taking off on runway 28, November 191 Mike Alpha.
Approaching runway.
We're just going to be defiant.
November 1 Mike Alpha. Runway 28 not available. Active runways are 05 and 10.
Request runway 10, November 191 Mike Alpha.
November 1 Mike
And again,
Alpha. Runway 10 available. Taxi to runway 10 via Alpha.
Alright, so let me just...
runway 10 remaining. 4,700 feet.
Alright, so we're going to go to departure right away. And we should be good. So here we go. Just get ourselves moving along here. I think we're... No, we might be going on 10 now that I think about it, so we're okay. Alright, speed alive, 60 knots. 80, that's about when I like to lift off because it's a bit more positive rate. Gear up. We'll get going here. Flaps up. That'll allow us more speed. Oops. And then we're going to do yaw damper. And that. And arm. And then we should hopefully take off from them there hills. It's actually quite smooth, which is a bit crazy. This is like the smoothest we've had it. Maybe it's just not that defined. But slowly climbing. But it's a straight line. And we're heading right toward the water. And that is going to be about what we see the whole way. So, looks like maybe a little bit of a turn.
November 1 Mike Alpha.
Not much.
Not seeing you on radar. Double check 5473.ident again.
5473. And then we want to...
November 1 Mike Alpha. Radar contact. 4 east of Maputo at 800 feet. Maputo QNH 1013.
Alright. So, again, slow climb. We really probably don't even need to be that high. Maybe we'll, we're gonna make ourselves 1500. Departure, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting modification for VFR to 1,500.
November 1, Mike Alpha. Climb 1,500.
Climb 1,500, November 191 Mike Alpha. Alright, so there we go. We lock it in. And this is what we got. A little bit of a view out, you know, we'll get ourselves there, lower ourselves down, give ourselves the view out the window, and the other airport is right off the coast, so...
November 1 Mike Alpha, VFR altitude.
VFR altitudes, November 191 Mike Alpha. And it says flight following is temporary. So I'm assuming it's going to cut me off there, you know, in a little bit once we get out of the airspace, things like that. But because this is a VFR series, I'm going to leave it, but it's just going to be water. It's going to be like when we cross Greenland.
You're leaving the Charlie airspace. Remain outside the Charlie. Squawk VFR. Frequency change approved.
Thanks for the assistance. November 191 Mike Alpha. So with that, we're officially out. You know, we'll probably just do our 00. Where is it? Oh, 00. How do I go to standby? There we go. So unless it grumbles, we should be okay. We're over to CTAF for communications, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of radio calls. I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of aircraft up here at this point, but you know, again, we're seeing a little bit of land here and there, but not much. So again, we had our taxi lights on. We don't really need our landing lights because we're not doing that. I'm usually pretty bad with the lights for this. But yeah, plenty of fuel. Everything looks good, so we won't have the mid-air refueling that I had to do on the last one because we were starting to run on fumes. This should be well within the range. It's going to be about 850 miles, but yeah, it just reminded me I'm not on my high speed, so that will move things along a little bit.
Since we're just north of Inhaka Airport, let's talk about Inhaka Island itself. This island is a real gem off the coast of Mozambique, famous for its lush forests, sandy beaches, and vibrant coral reefs. It's been a hotspot for marine research since the early 1900s, and scientists from all over the world come here to study its unique ecosystems. Birdwatchers also love it. Over 300 species have been spotted here, including flamingos and kingfishers.
Right. And again, she may keep repeating that because it's going to be the closest airport until we get halfway, and then she'll change. I don't know. I don't know how often she'll speak, but you can see we've got a little over 2.5 hours. I think we're getting to the top end of the speed now, so we cut 4 or 5 minutes off our trip by going to TBM mode, which is, again, one of the reasons I use this. But you know, we might see some ships, might see a few islands here and there. I don't know what might or might not be out here. And in about 2.5 hours, we'll be landing. So I will see you then.
Since there aren't any major landmarks right beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Maputo. It's the capital of Mozambique and sits right on the Indian Ocean. Maputo was founded in the late 18th century as a Portuguese trading post, and its architecture is a wild mix of colonial-era buildings and modern high-rises. Aviation fans might be interested to know that Maputo International Airport is one of the busiest in southern Africa, serving as a hub for flights across the continent. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest airport, Sai Airport, also known as Zongaween Airport. This airstrip is a bit of a hidden gem for bush pilots and adventure seekers. It serves the Sai region, which is famous for its stunning coastline, and the Limpopo River nearby. The airport itself is pretty basic. No fancy terminals or duty-free shops here. But it has played a crucial role in connecting remote communities and supporting tourism in the area. Back in the day, small aircraft would land here bringing supplies and visitors eager to explore Mozambique's wild side. Since there aren't any major landmarks right beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Jaisai. This coastal town is known for its beautiful beaches and the nearby Limpopo River, which is one of the longest rivers in Africa. Zaisai was established as a colonial outpost in the early 20th century and became a popular getaway for Mozambicans looking to escape the city. The town is also famous for its massive sand dunes and tidal pools, which are a hit with both locals and tourists. If you look closely, you might even spot the remnants of old Portuguese architecture scattered around the area. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Chonguene. This small town is nestled near the coast and is known for its proximity to the Limpopo River's mouth. Chonguene is a quiet spot, but it's got a bit of aviation history during the colonial era. Bush pilots would often use the nearby open fields as makeshift landing strips when delivering mail and supplies. The area is also famous for its scenic views of the Indian Ocean and the lush river delta.
Attention all aircraft. Apologies for the brief issue with frequency/comm stations. Everything should be normal now.
Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Chiringuele. This small town is perched right near the Indian Ocean and is famous for its freshwater lake, Lake Nambavale. The lake is a favorite spot for both locals and travelers who want to escape the salty sea for a swim or a bit of fishing. Chiringuela's name actually means the place of the gods in the local language, and legend has it that spirits once protected the area from invaders. The town is also surrounded by rolling sand dunes and lush forests, making it a stunning sight from above. Since we're flying over a pretty remote stretch right now, let's talk about the closest city, Chiringuele. This little town is famous for Lake Nambavale, a massive freshwater lake that's a real oasis in the middle of all these sand dunes. The lake is a favorite for swimming, fishing, and even canoeing. Locals say it's the perfect spot to escape the salty sea. Chiringuele actually means the place of the gods in the local language, and there are legends about spirits protecting the area from invaders. From up here, you might spot the shimmering water and the lush forests that surround it. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Zavora. This little coastal town is a favorite among divers and snorkelers thanks to its legendary coral reefs and shipwrecks just offshore. Zavora Lighthouse, built in 1910, stands as a sentinel over the coastline and is one of the oldest in Mozambique. The area is also famous for sightings of humpback whales during migration season, so keep your eyes peeled for a splash or two in the ocean. Local legend says the lighthouse is haunted by a friendly ghost who loves to help lost fishermen find their way home. Since we're in a pretty remote area right now, let's talk about the closest city, in Inhambane. This coastal city is one of Mozambique's oldest settlements, with roots going back to the 11th century when it was a trading post for Arab merchants. Portuguese explorers arrived in the 1500s, and you can still spot colonial-era buildings from above, especially the grand old cathedral. Inhambane is also famous for its coconut palms and the nearby bay, which is a hotspot for dugongs, those gentle sea cow-like creatures. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Msfs. This bustling port town sits right on the edge of the Indian Ocean and is known as the gateway to southern Mozambique. Msfs sprang up in the early 20th century as a key stop for traders and fishermen, and today it's famous for its vibrant markets and the ferry that shuttles people across the bay to Inhamban. From the air, you might spot the long causeway stretching out into the water. It's a favorite shortcut for locals. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Morambeni. This small town is perched along the coast and is known for its sweeping views of the Indian Ocean and the Morambene Bay. The bay itself has been a safe harbor for centuries, used by local fishermen and, back in the day, by Portuguese explorers looking for a calm spot to anchor. Morambene is also surrounded by coconut plantations, which were planted during the colonial era and are still going strong today. If you look closely, you might spot the patchwork of green fields and the glint of water from the bay, a real treat from above. And here's something. Local legend says that the bay is home to a mysterious sea creature that only shows itself on moonlit nights. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Morambeni. This small town is perched along the coast and is known for its sweeping views of the Indian Ocean and the Morambene Bay. The bay itself has been a safe harbor for centuries, used by local fishermen and, back in the day, by Portuguese explorers looking for a calm spot to anchor. Morambene is also surrounded by coconut plantations, which were planted during the colonial era and are still going strong today. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Masinga. This small town is perched on a ridge overlooking the Indian Ocean and is surrounded by endless coconut and cashew plantations. Masinga is a hub for agriculture in the region, and you can often spot the patchwork of green fields from above. The area is also known for its dramatic coastline, with long stretches of untouched beach and rolling dunes. Local stories say that during the colonial era, pilots used the town's prominent ridge as a visual checkpoint when flying up and down the coast. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Nova Mambonin. This small coastal town sits near the mouth of the Save River, which is one of Mozambique's major waterways. Nova Mamboni is known for its dramatic river delta, where the Save spills into the Indian Ocean, creating a patchwork of sandbars and mangroves that look incredible from above. The area is a haven for bird life, especially during migration seasons, so keep your eyes peeled for flocks of waders and herons. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Nova Mamboan. This small coastal town sits near the mouth of the Save River, which is one of Mozambique's major waterways. Nova Mamboan is known for its dramatic river delta, where the Save spills into the Indian Ocean, creating a patchwork of sandbars and mangroves that look incredible from above. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Vilanculos. This coastal town is a real treat for aviation fans because it's the gateway to the Bazaruto archipelago. Vilanculos Airport is one of the busiest in the region, especially during the holiday season when tourists flock here to catch a glimpse of the stunning turquoise waters and white sand islands. The airport itself was upgraded in 2009 to handle more international flights, making it a key stop for anyone exploring Mozambique's coastline. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Vilanculos. This coastal town is a real treat for aviation fans because it's the gateway to the Bazaruto archipelago. Vilanculos Airport is one of the busiest in the region, especially during the holiday season when tourists flock here to catch a glimpse of the stunning turquoise waters and white sand islands. The airport itself was upgraded in 2009 to handle more international flights, making it a key stop for anyone exploring Mozambique's coastline. And here's something. The Bazaruto archipelago just offshore is a protected marine reserve, home to dugongs, dolphins, and some of the clearest waters you'll ever see from above. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Bazaruto Island. This island is the largest in the Bazaruto archipelago and is famous for its dazzling sand dunes and crystal clear waters. From above, you might spot the swirling patterns of the sandbanks and the turquoise lagoons that make this place a paradise for snorkelers and divers. The island is part of a national park established in 1971 to protect its rare wildlife, including the elusive dugong, a cousin of the manatee that looks like it swam straight out of a fairy tale. Fishermen have been visiting these waters for centuries, and there's even a legend that pirate treasure is buried somewhere along the shoreline. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Bazaruto Island. This island is the largest in the Bazaruto archipelago and is famous for its dazzling sand dunes and crystal clear waters. From above, you might spot the swirling patterns of the sandbanks and the turquoise lagoons that make this place a paradise for snorkelers and divers. The island is part of a national park established in 1971 to protect its rare wildlife, including the elusive dugong, a cousin of the manatee that looks like it swam straight out of a fairy tale. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Bazaruto Island. This island is the largest in the Bazaruto archipelago and is famous for its dazzling sand dunes and crystal clear waters. From above, you might spot the swirling patterns of the sandbanks and the turquoise lagoons that make this place a paradise for snorkelers and divers. The island is part of a national park established in 1971 to protect its rare wildlife, including the elusive dugong, a cousin of the manatee that looks like it swam straight out of a fairy tale. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Inhasoro. This small coastal town is a favorite launch point for trips to the Bazaruto archipelago, and it's known for its long, sandy beaches and calm, shallow waters. Inhasoro has been a fishing village for generations, and you can sometimes spot traditional dhow boats heading out to sea from above. The area is also a hotspot for bird watchers, with migratory birds flocking to the nearby estuaries. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, in Hasoro. This small coastal town is a favorite launch point for trips to the Bazaruto archipelago, and it's known for its long, sandy beaches and calm, shallow waters. In Hasoro has been a fishing village for generations, and you can sometimes spot traditional dhow boats heading out to sea from above. The area is also a hotspot for bird watchers, with migratory birds flocking to the nearby estuaries. And here's something. Local legend says that a shipwreck just offshore is haunted by a friendly ghost who helps fishermen find their way home during foggy nights. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Machanga. This small coastal town sits right along the banks of the Rio Save, Mozambique's second longest river. Machanga is known for its sprawling mangrove forests, which look like a patchwork of green veins from above, and are a haven for birdlife and even the occasional crocodile. The town has been a fishing hub for generations, and you might spot traditional wooden canoes dotting the riverbanks. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Morombe. This small coastal town is perched right on the edge of the Mozambique Channel and is famous for its sweeping beaches and the nearby mangrove forests. Morombe is a bit of a hidden gem for adventurous pilots and travelers. Back in the early days of aviation, bush planes would land on the sandy flats here to deliver mail and supplies. The area is also known for its massive baobab trees, some of which are hundreds of years old and look like they've been plucked straight from a Dr. Seuss book. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Morombe. This small coastal town is perched right on the edge of the Mozambique Channel and is famous for its sweeping beaches and the nearby mangrove forests. Morombe is a bit of a hidden gem for adventurous pilots and travelers. Back in the early days of aviation, bush planes would land on the sandy flats here to deliver mail and supplies. The area is also known for its massive baobab trees, some of which are hundreds of years old, and look like they've been plucked straight from a Dr. Seuss book. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Morombe. This small coastal town is perched right on the edge of the Mozambique Channel and is famous for its sweeping beaches and the nearby mangrove forests. Morombe is a bit of a hidden gem for adventurous pilots and travelers. Back in the early days of aviation, bush planes would land on the sandy flats here to deliver mail and supplies. The area is also known for its massive baobab trees, some of which are hundreds of years old, and look like they've been plucked straight from a Dr. Seuss book. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Morondava. This coastal town is famous for being the gateway to the Avenue of the Baobabs, a stretch of centuries-old, towering baobab trees that look like something out of a fantasy novel. Morondava itself was established as a trading port in the 19th century, and you can still spot traditional Malagasy fishing boats dotting the shoreline. The town is also known for its sweeping beaches and the nearby Kirundi Forest, home to some of Madagascar's rarest wildlife. Since there aren't any major landmarks directly beneath us, let's talk about the closest city, Toliara. This coastal city is often called the City of the Sun because it gets over 3,600 hours of sunshine a year, so don't forget your sunglasses. Toliara was founded in the late 19th century as a French colonial port, and its wide boulevards and old colonial buildings are still visible from the air. The city is also the gateway to some of Madagascar's most unique ecosystems, including the spiny forests and the Great Barrier Reef of Madagascar, which is the third largest coral reef system in the world. Toliara's port has been a hub for trade and fishing for over a century, and you might spot traditional Malagasy sailing boats, called pirogues, dotting the coastline.
Alright, so she had announced the city that we're heading toward. Now we just need to figure out. So there's a short runway again that's kind of in line with us. Might be grass, but might be alright. So let's see. So we're gonna, as always, as we get closer, we're gonna go to heading. And we're gonna peel this off. And we're gonna go, let's see, 70? Because, yeah, it's like 110. But, so it's runway 111. And in theory, we can, so we'll fall down here. That'll slough off
Let me tell
some
you about the
speed.
Onalahi River, which snakes its way just north of Toliara. From the air, it looks like a shimmering ribbon cutting through the landscape. The river is over 525 kilometers long and has been a lifeline for local communities for centuries, providing water for farming and fishing. In the dry season, the riverbanks become a gathering spot for herds of zebu cattle. Sometimes it looks like a zebu convention down there. The Onalahi is also home to some rare species of fish that you won't find anywhere else in the world.
So we're gonna put ourselves here maybe at 100. But I think I see where we need to be. So we're gonna get our flaps down and take our autopilot off, and there's the runway, I'm pretty sure. So we will get ourselves there. But at this point, yeah, we have flaps down. And ready to roll, land, all that. Because, yeah, I wasn't sure where we were going to end up. But yeah, it's 2,500 foot runway. It's not super long, but we don't need a lot unless I overshoot it. And that way we're not having to swing wide or anything. So we'll just keep doing this. And it's a little more than we like, but 5 miles out. And we'll get landed, and we'll have this leg done. But like I said, it's going to be leg 54 before we're doing anything supremely interesting. The next leg does have a waypoint, but it's just getting us to the other side of Madagascar here and then heading north. So, not as long as this flight. Again, obviously, if you're going over water, you kind of have to do what it takes to get over the water. But, you know, the other one's just going up a little bit. We're basically going to the capital of Madagascar. So normally don't give a whole lot of extra information, but in this case, we can. I assume once we hit the coast, our height above ground level is going to jump up a little bit, because right now, obviously, we're measuring to the ocean. And I shouldn't say jump up, like the ground's going to jump up to us, so I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up 20 or 50 feet right away.
500.
So just trying to aim for what looks like it would be reasonable. We're probably still not quite over land, but we could be. Because now I do feel like I'm pushing it down a lot. That's why I'm backing it off, because I think it's just a little too much speed, and then, you know, we're eating some distance up too that we don't really have, so go down below 100. So yeah, it's really like a dirt runway, but it's okay. So it'll fly at 80. All right, nicely done. Just back that off. at this point. We'll just roll through the grass over here because there's some buildings and we're already kind of on the grass, so why not, right? We'll get ourselves
Approaching runway 29.
over here. You know, not the cleanest spot. A little rough airport, but hey, we're here by a hangar. Put our brake on. Shut off the engine. As always. And there we are. So, welcome to Madagascar. So there are some highlands on the other side that are about 8,000 or 11,000 feet at the high end, so that's where we'll be going next time. We'll see how all of that plays out. Again, it's winding down here, so nice and quiet now. But as always, if you have enjoyed this and haven't dropped a like or subscribed, and even if you haven't, you can still drop a like and subscribe. It is always greatly appreciated. Comments also. I love talking with folks, so let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you're enjoying the series. I don't honestly know. I mean, I do get views on every video I put up, but sometimes it's just a few seconds. And one like this might be very challenging because it's a direct flight and it's mainly over water. I mean, both airports are just very close to the coast, so easily over 600 miles just crossing the strait here. I will see you next time.